I'll get to this more toward the end. This is a puzzle I bought today. Some notable imagery. Notable puzzle piece. X to the X. 55. This all fits together some way. Working on the puzzle. Big one. That's the center. Before I start, this was my original ABBA two-dimensional pattern. In my next, or in my third video, or my third clip of this one video, I refer to three-dimensional, but I mean two-dimensional. But anyway, in this picture, this is my center. So I have two reds and two blues instead of my center surrounded by a red, a blue, a yellow, orange, whatever, and a green. But this 4-pixel center is actually a 4x4 center, where my corners are 2 reds and 2 blues. So that 4x4 is really the 1 pixel. That's kind of like my A. So then I have A, B, B, A. And in the opposite direction, A, B, B, A. So across it's 7x7, 49. So if I rotate these colors, if I were to perform a color filter animation around this middle would be going from essentially like red and blue to yellow, orange, and green, you know, red and blue, orange and green, red and blue, orange and green. So in some sense that would be like an alternating current across this field. And so I still have quadrants, but what's different about this picture and this is that in this one, as I'll show in my other video, the center is centered around 4 colors. So then that's more properly like 4 quadrants, and more properly like a 1 plus I, a negative 1 plus I, a negative 1 plus negative I, and a 1 plus negative I quadrants. Yet each pixel is a quadrant, so it's like complex pixels. I've never heard that talked about before. I'm not saying it's not out there, but that's kind of an interesting concept of on a two-dimensional plane, complex quadrants with complex pixels. It's a non-repeating pattern that can go on forever. It's a pattern that's like self-determined in so much as there's a very, very basic rule. A very basic rule. It's about as simple as a rule as you could ever come up with, and it's a non-repeating pattern. There are parts that are the same, but surrounded by parts that are the same are different parts. thus a non-repeating pattern. And so in that way, this would be kind of like a direct current, because as it changes, it just revolves. It doesn't alternate. But in the video that I made that involves this pattern, where I rotated upon itself and did a color revolution, there was some beautiful imagery, and it didn't appear to alternate. Its alternations were very liquid, so there was a lot more going on than just an alternation. And I've yet to do the same thing with this image, only because I made it so big. It's so many more generations of the pattern. But when I made this scale, I made it for this pattern, but only at the last minute did I decide, no, I'm going to separate the quadrants differently at the center. And yeah, in my next video you'll see clearly where here, this is my center, a red, a blue, and a blue. And in my next video I point out with my little tape finger in the next video where the dots are the center of the 4x4. It's the 2x2 inside the 4x4, and it's different. But in that video, like so, here's the center, and then you have this pattern around it. So in my next video, each of these quadrants has this same pattern, except like where this red pixel is up where this blue pixel is, and it's all the different colors in the same pattern around that. And I guess that's appealing in a certain way, but I do love this pattern. And yeah, I don't know, it has something to do with the difference between alternating and direct current within a type of field. And I'm completely unqualified to talk about these things, but it has something to do with my message. That's the center. me remember everything so that a half hour from now I'd be the same person I was now. So that I could remember from one moment to the next, so that when I was looking forward to something, when I got to do that something, I could still be the same person that wanted to do it, and not someone different, so that the person that wanted to do something could do it, and not just the person who got to do it. Same person, you know, but like if you think of yourself differently as from now to then. But it was kind of like a blessing of sorts. It's all centered around the ABBA pattern. But I guess with this, instead of two things, there's four to help show it three-dimensionally. Or I guess you could have like a C, D, E, and F. But C would be A, B, where A is going to B. D would be B, A, where B is going to A. And C and D would be two parts of the A, B, B, A. And then the E and the F would be the same, kind of like E would be B to A, F would be A to B, but E and F would be part of the BAAB. So both both C and F would be A to B. It's just whether they're part of ABBA or BAAB, and then D and E would both be BA, except D would be part of ABBA and E would be part of BAAB. But no matter how many times you like try to encode it or whatever, it's still always the same thing, and does the same thing kind of. Like I said, I said in a different video, I have to find a way to make it work three-dimensionally, and it might require like a different pattern, but try to still get the ABBA thing. You can see, in some sense, you can see more in person, but this is actually turning out, I think, to be a pretty good video showing how saturated this pattern is, and how many patterns are in it. A blessing or a curse, sometimes, I don't know, but it sure looks like it speaks to something. Still on this. I'll get to this. That's what I was talking about on the last one. This corresponds to this one with the 7x7, where I have an A, B, B, A, B, B, A, B, B, A, B, B, A. And this I just did in 2 colors instead of 4. Whereas this relates to the big one, where there's in the middle, it's different. Now here it looks the same because I'm using the black and white to show the X's and the O's. So in this one, in the 4 quadrants, everything's the same, but in this one, just like in the complex quadrant, these 2 quadrants are the same, or in the regular quadrants, and these 2 quadrants are the same, charge-wise. but like this and this are different when you get to the actual nuts and bolts of things. So here I've just tried to spell it out a little. Eventually I'll make my B first, just to try to get away from the imposed directionality of B being second, because that's not really what this is all about, which is one of my problems with 1 and I and all that kind of thing. And what I was talking about as far as the quadrants being like, if you have 4 quadrants, but then in each quadrant you have all 4 charges, like so you have your four quadrants, or your 4 plus or minus root plus or minus root plus or minus 1. So plus or minus root plus or minus 1 plus or minus square root plus or minus 1 gives you 1, -1, I, negative I. Right? And so like if you take that as a unit and stuff it into everything, and then instead of making my quadrants like 1 plus I, -1 plus I, or 1 plus I, 1 plus negative I, or 1 plus I, -1 plus I, -1 plus negative I, 1 plus negative I. Instead of making it like that, I just made it like 1, -1, I, negative I quadrants. And then within each one of those, you have all these things. And so like this is my basic ABBA unit in 2 dimensions, but these can be arranged in different ways. So each one of these is all balanced and all has the same number of 1s, I's, -1s, and negative I's, but they're arranged in different ways. But like these two are similar. They have